Good evening, Cape Flats Stories. Mense van die Kaapse vlakte, hoop dit gaan goed saam met julle. We have a very special guest in the studio that we're going to talk now to her. Julle wat so drink, ek sê maar net vir julle, julle moet luister. But I just want to talk about the recent events that has happened. Myself, I've been doing a bit of research, not just for myself, I've always been very much interested in the safety and security and the drugs smuggling in Cape Town, in South Africa. And so one of the articles in the paper today is about, the crippling drug cartels. Recent police operation healed 70 million rand in drug seizures. And so large busts have taken place in Cape Town and around the country in recent weeks, totaling more than 70 million at various locations in warehouse. And then the latest Cape Town case is 18 million rand worth of cocaine, right? Which was allegedly found in a suspended Standard Bank manager, Raid Kipido's position, And so now, if you listen, so the cartel must be here in Cape Town. I feel strongly they are here and they're operating with gangsters and with some people. If you look at how they operate, you will see in certain areas, which was plain in other areas, it has become a bit unstable. When it comes to gangsterism, people are dying every day on the Cape Flats, but you can also see it feels as if there's a power struggle. The reason alleged gang bosses that they are here. And also, I've heard some rumors they are buying into property, which does make sense. If you look at not only the cartel, but if you look at Russian gangsters as well, Italians, just drive around Cape Town. I mean, also see Domi, come on, also see Domi. Always weet wat aangaan, but we can't speak, we can't talk, we can't ask questions because are we safe? Can we talk about these things? Because remember, this is money, yes, big money involved, but also who from politics are involved here as well, because these people are freely coming into the country and going out of the country and doing what they want. So we need to ask the question, wie is die mindbrein agter die cocaine? No? But nevertheless, I have a young lady in the studio with me. Some of you might know her, some of you might not know her. Her name is Kashifa Ancer, and she is the lady that is very much behind the slogan Rethink Your Drink. Nou, ek het julle gewaarsku. Ons gaan 'n bietjie praat van die alcohol abuse. Kashifa, welcome to Cape Flats Stories.
Thank you very much for having me, Uncle Stan.
So tell us more about yourself before we go into the topic. Tell us more. Where did you grow up? Who are you? Just a bit more about yourself.
Well, about myself, I grew up in Boksburg, in Gauteng, Johannesburg. And I moved to Cape Town about 3 years ago.
Okay.
With my husband, we had just gotten married. He got a job here, and we were like, cool. Like every Joburg who comes to Cape Town does moves here for a job.
Yeah.
So we did, and yeah, my background is actually in theatre and performance.
Okay.
I'm a dramatic arts graduate from Wits University, so my first love lies in performing. And then slowly moved into the civil society space when I worked for the Drama for Life Theatre Company.
Okay.
And they did work around theatre education to educate young people about sexual health and sexual well-being. And I kind of realized that I, was moving into that kind of direction. And that led me to becoming a doula. So I am a certified birth doula as well.
Okay.
And my main work is with the Rethink Your Drink campaign, which is a campaign by the D.G. Marie Trust, which is what I do now.
I met you a couple of months back, and you invited me to one of your events. And one of the things that stood with me, and I still see it with a lot of people, and I'm on the platform as well, that the number one alcohol abuser is colored males. That is men like me. And I want to agree with you that I see a lot of my brothers throwing themselves away when it comes to alcohol. What is Rethink Your Drink about?
So, Rethink Your Drink is an alcohol harms reduction campaign that works to challenge the norms and the policies that make heavy and binge drinking in the way you've just described exist in our society. So, the main objective of the campaign is to campaign for policies like the Liquor Amendment Bill to be passed in order to make sure that the conditions that allow for heavy and binge drinking to occur and to thrive don't exist in our communities. To allow communities to be in control of taverns and not the other way around. To allow for young people to exist in safe communities, in alcohol-safe communities. One of our slogans, and it's up on the chalkboard, is putting people before profit. And that is a big one for us because we firmly believe that the delays of the Liquor Amendment Bill are because the liquor industry, or how we call them big liquor, is defending their profit. They feel that the Liquor Amendment Bill threatens their profit. They feel that any policies that restrict trading hours, that restrict advertising, that make pricing measures higher, like excise taxes, like minimum unit pricing, which we'll speak to later on, all of those things industry feels will impact their profit in a very, very big way. And so they actively work to make that policy off the table. So we're working against that, advocating for positive alcohol policy that is going to work for people. To allow the industry to exist, but to ensure that there is as little harm as possible because of alcohol in our communities. Harm like health, harm like violence, harm to productivity. Loss of productivity is something that alcohol affects greatly. Gender-based violence, all of those types of things caused by alcohol, we're trying to mitigate. Because alcohol costs the economy between 10 and 12% of our GDP. But the industry only gives the economy 3 to 6%.
Which is a loss, actually.
Well, it's just going away, right? It's just going away into harm. So we can't say, they're giving us 3%, so we can lose 12 to health costs, to construction costs, all of those kind of things. So that's what we're working against. We want to ensure that South Africa's economy, South Africa's people are able to thrive, and alcohol is one of the chokes on society that doesn't allow that to happen.
And I think what you've mentioned now is during lockdown, with the strict laws that was in place, there was actually the hospitals wasn't so full. There wasn't strain on hospitals because of alcohol abuse and many other things. Do you think this is still happening? A lot of the patients going into hospital is because of alcohol abuse.
I think there was research a couple of years back that showed Grooteski reported about 60% of their trauma unit admissions was because of alcohol.
Sure.
Accidents, violent crime, things like that. So it is a big factor. And like you said, when you look at hospitals during that time, I think it was Baragwanath in Johannesburg, wards being empty, nurses having nothing to do because alcohol was off the streets. And we're not saying that when we look at that we should go for a complete alcohol ban. But it shows you what restrictions can do positively for society. How that saved lives. Recent research came out to say that there is a difference of 63% of femicide cases during that alcohol ban during the lockdown period and when there wasn't any restrictions. 63%. How many women's lives is that that was saved during that period and that we could save if we implement restrictions, if we implement proper pricing measures to ensure that alcohol isn't flooding through the streets?
And I think, like you say, if we want to bring positive change, and we're not saying people can't drink, and we're going to come to the question where I'm going to ask you, what is responsible drinking? So we're going to get there now, but I think if we implement rules or put things in place, there will be less strain on our justice system.
Absolutely.
There will be less strains on our hospitals, as well as I think family life would be better.
Absolutely.
But what is responsible drinking to you? Is there something like it?
No. There's safer drinking.
Okay.
So less than 5 drinks.
Okay.
Right? is considered safer. Of course, no alcohol is actually safe,
Yeah.
right? The World Health Organization has come out and said that if we're looking at what is safe, zero alcohol is
Okay.
safe. But if you are drinking less than 5 drinks per sitting is going to be safer, right? So 5 drinks per sitting, 5 standard drinks per sitting is considered binge drinking,
Okay.
right? 5 or more,
Okay.
okay? If you're drinking 5 or more drinks on a regular basis, 15 or more drinks per week,
Yeah.
then that is considered heavy drinking.
Okay.
And of course, the more you drink, the more effect that has, the more
Yeah.
chances you are
Yeah.
of having cancer,
Yeah.
the more health risks you have, the risks to your safety, the risks to your family increase, right? So the slogan drink responsibly is very difficult because is it possible for you to do something that is fundamentally unhealthy responsibly, right? Can you do something that isn't good for you responsibly?
Yeah.
So big liquor, the industry is very coy in putting the responsibility firstly on the consumer because the ads don't show you what is responsible,
Yeah.
right? The ads don't show you what is safe. The ads just show you somebody taking a sip and having a good time.
Yeah.
It's a juice in the ad,
Yeah.
but for you, it might mean 5 or 6 drinks
Yes.
to feel the way that person feels in the ad. And maybe you don't even get there.
Yeah.
So drink responsibly is not really something that we can consider sound advice when it comes to alcohol. At Rethink Your Drink, we stand by low to moderate consumption. As opposed to heavy and binge drinking. We work actively against heavy and binge drinking and encourage or support low to moderate consumption. So as I said before, less than 5 drinks, less than 5 standard drinks. Of course, zero alcohol is safe for your health, safe for your well-being, but less than 5 drinks, low to moderate consumption is best.
Yeah. How would this affect? Because I mean, this is a business on its own.
Yeah.
And if you look at many of the companies, they have a lot of things linked to drinking healthy things. And like you mentioned, the one thing that I hate about alcohol. Look, I drink. I used to drink a lot, and I have actually cut down on that. Because it is a health risk. I'll be honest with you, especially ciders. And I said this before on my show. Too much ciders is not good for you. But how would this affect if everybody becomes a drinker where they maybe just have 2 or 3 drinks a week? How would that affect business? Because I think that wouldn't be good for business.
For the industry, no. The industry thrives on heavy and binge drinkers, right?
Yeah.
The more people drink, the more profit they make, and that is all they are after.
Yeah.
But if we look at countries abroad, places like Canada, places like Wales, who have implemented measures to reduce heavy and binge drinking in their countries, and they've implemented what's part of what's called the World Health Organization's 5 best buys, things like restricting advertising, things like increasing prices. They've implemented some of those things, but they don't actually report an industry that struggled at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of the concerns that were raised in South Africa related to the Liquor Amendment Bill are about things like the illicit trade growing significantly.
Yeah.
But those countries that have implemented measures didn't see that happen.
Yeah.
So when we look at data and the research and what's happening around the world of countries who are trying to make a change, we can see that the alcohol industry did not suffer. Right? Because what the Liquor Amendment Bill, what the World Health Organization strategies are trying to impact is where drinking is harmful, especially in low-income communities, right? For example, the pricing strategies affect cheap alcohol, very cheap alcohol that's flowing through low-income communities. That's the type of alcohol that's going to be affected.
Okay.
But your premium drinks that cost 450 rand a bottle, not so much, right?
I agree.
You're not going to feel it.
Yes.
But where we are going to see a difference is we're going to see a difference in the cheaper liquor, that it being more expensive, and people not being able to afford that so easily, meaning they're going to be drinking less. So alcohol industry can throw their hands in the air and say, hey, it's going to affect our business, but research doesn't support that.
Yeah. Coming back to, let's say we're going to make the alcohol for the lower class a bit more expensive, right? Doesn't that open a door for illegal? I mean, we already have a thing where we already have people manufacturing their own illegal drinks. Should government have also rules and regulations for that as well? So just to keep the chances, because if there is like we have the regional and you have the non-regional. So obviously, you can't buy the more expensive one, so we come to you much more cheaper. So it's a business. So we're opening up another business door for people. How would we regulate that?
Well, I mean, we regulate it through the fact that we'll be opening up finances, we'll be opening up capacity for law enforcement to be able to redirect their attention to the illicit trade. At the moment, it's difficult to visualize that because there is not enough capacity, finances, or legislature to regulate trade as it stands, right? So police are at capacity between Friday and a Sunday because they're addressing all of these violent calls, needing to respond to accidents, etc. But if you free up that capacity, you have capacity to be able to address all of those other concerns that are around the illicit trade. And yes, the illicit trade is a challenge. People have mentioned things like their health being severely affected and things like that. But it is certainly not a reason to not follow through with policy change. Once we regulate the legal space, we are able to regulate the illicit space, right? We right now cannot regulate a space, the illicit space, without there being proper regulation that is actually protecting lives in the legal space. Yeah.
The other thing that I want to ask you, like, alcohol has been an issue for many people. It stems from 500-600 years ago. Things happening, with our ancestors. This has become, like we spoke earlier on, this has become a generational thing, where it has been passed over to our people. We feel good if we drink alcohol. It's almost like an escape mechanism. I mean, me growing up on the Cape Flats, and I have to say this because there's people out there that can relate. I saw my uncles drink. I saw my cousins drink. It was a normal thing. And so we also grew up. I didn't drink when I was young. I only started drinking when I was in my 30s. But I guess, we have young people already because of what they're seeing at home. Starting to drink when they go to high school. I mean, when I was in school, and that was more than 30 years ago, young people were drinking. I mean, when you see these things on Facebook now, it seems new, but it's old already. How do parents curb this from happening? Is there any mechanisms that we can put in place? Because we've seen the previous generation doing it, and now we want to perpetuate it. We want to do it. We want to be as like my uncles were.
I mean, I think the first step, and it's very difficult as a parent, to know how to speak to children about alcohol. But the first step is exposure, right? Understanding what exposure does to the child's mind. If I see my mom, my dad, Oma, whoever in the house doing this every week or every family holiday, whatever the case is, even though I'm not allowed to do it now, I'm going to associate that with normal behavior, right? We spoke earlier about advertising as well. What kind of things are we associating with young people, with being successful, with being beautiful, with being brave, with being confident, all of those things. If we continue to allow the industry, if we continue to allow advertising to normalize, to make and to glamorize alcohol as something that young people can rely on to feel good about themselves, that behavior is obviously going to continue. So exposure is a very, very big one. Understanding what kind of exposure you're giving to your to children firstly, and knowing that green light moments exist, right? Being able to speak to children about alcohol, about the dangers of alcohol, in settings that are safe. When everybody in the house is sober, when everybody in the house is calm, to be able to say, "Look, what happened at Christmas." Didn't really only have happened. We got a little bit out of hand. And really being able to look at your own consumption and say, do I want this for my child? And if not, finding the support structures that you need, be it other family members, be it church leaders, whoever it is that you can rely on to help make a change. And it's important to understand that it's not necessarily people who have a dependence issue, right? You don't necessarily need to have hit what they call rock bottom to be able to make a change in your consumption. If you want to make a change, even if it means you going from drinking 3 drinks a week to drinking just 1, that is a change that you need, and you need support for that change. You're absolutely allowed to reach out for support for that change. You don't have to have lost your home and lost your car, before you can make a change. It's called sober curiosity.
Okay.
being sober curious. And it's something that is really gaining ground in the UK and it's starting to come to South Africa now, where people are going, I don't need 3, I can have 1. You know?
Like me.
Like you, you know, and people are starting to become aware of that. But it really takes sitting down with yourselves during that green light moment and saying, what is our consumption going to look like? But it's a challenge in South Africa, especially because we have a big mental health challenge. I think it's about 27% of young people don't have access to mental health support, psychosocial support services. So they are self-medicating. They are dealing with trauma, dealing with challenges around social anxiety, neurodivergence, and things like that are being dealt with alcohol. And so there's an entire structural change that needs to occur in order for us to go, this is how we can help young people. We need to increase access to psychosocial support, not only for people who are dependent on alcohol, but for people before they get to that point. We need to ensure that the age restriction on alcohol is moved to 21 years old. So that we can delay the start of drinking. We need to ensure that we restrict alcohol advertising except at point of sale. The more young people see advertising, the more likely they are to drink. We need to make sure that we increase the price of alcohol and reduce trading hours so that we can reduce access. Cheap alcohol is easy, especially for children to buy. You cannot be selling cups of beer at 7 rand. You know, who has 7 rand? Kids have 7 rand. So those are the kinds of things that we're seeing, and there are measures in order to curb that. And there are things, yes, like I said, that you can do in the home. But fundamentally, it needs to become a national issue. That government needs to say, we're putting our foot down. Here's the liquor amendment bill. We're going to amend all of these laws. We're going to start implementing these policy changes so that our communities at large can see changes. That is then going to trickle down into the home, where you'll be able to say, oh, okay, here's how we can implement this in our family.
Do you also think that people should be labeled, not labeled, but also there should be a rule where how much alcohol you can actually purchase? You know, you have people with cabinets full of alcohol. Okay, this is what they want to buy. But I also feel that can become a problem if you don't drink to socialize. When you drink to forget about your problems, then those alcohol beverages in your room is actually a weapon. Because every night your wife is gonna, and I'm not saying this to all men or all people. I'm just saying that certain people shouldn't be having alcohol in their homes if they are known perpetrators, right?
I mean, I don't know if we can go as far as to say is to restrict access to that extent. People who are of legal age and want to consume alcohol should be able to do so, but education is important. People need to understand what they are drinking, how much they are drinking, and what that impact is, not only on themselves, but also on the people around them. So you described somebody who is probably consuming heavy amounts of alcohol and the impact that is having on their family. That person most likely needs to have an understanding created that the impact of their drinking also affects the people around them. And so that's why it's called green light moments, is because you need to find a moment with said person to say, now they're okay, everything's okay, they're not going to be aggressive about it, they're going to actually hear my message, and you're going to say, listen, this is affecting us, this is affecting your children, this is affecting your family, this is affecting the community at large. And people always wait for a big moment, a car accident, somebody to get ill, somebody to get cancer, to be able to do something about it. But you don't have to wait for something to go wrong before you can start to address consumption. It is a very difficult and confronting conversation to have. Very confronting. Because people get defensive. And that is a big liquor tool, right? To that drink responsibly slogan. It makes me feel like I'm the problem. But a system was created to fuel your consumption habits. It's not just you. And so people need to understand that, yes, you have capacity to change, but you are not wrong for being dependent on alcohol. Alcohol use disorder is actually a disease, right? So we refrain from using terms like alcoholic or alcoholism because that has an ethical and moral nuance to it. Whereas alcohol use disorder describes it for what it is. It is a dependence disorder. It's a disease. and you can get help for it.
Yeah.
And it is across a scale. So you, as I said, you don't need to have hit rock bottom. If you need support, if you need help, you should be able to reach out to family or anybody else in your community to be able to access support. Unfortunately, in South Africa, support is very limited. 90 to 95% of the rehabilitation centers in South Africa are privately owned. So the state is actually servicing a large amount of the population. There are waiting lists for ages.
Yes.
But that's what I said, that there are community centers, there are churches, some of which Rethink Your Drink can connect people to as well.
Okay.
In Cape Town, who are supporting people every day. And reach out to those. Start there if you need support. Talking about it with your friends, having conversations like we are having today. Big step in changing consumption. Yeah.
Do you also feel that we're making it easy for liquor stores to open? Because I think it's easy to get a liquor license, and man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I see a lot of liquor shops popping up on the Cape Flats. Everybody are taking their pension money and opening up a liquor shop, and I think that is the issue. That is a big issue.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be as easy as it is.
Yeah.
Because when you are an owner or a potential owner of a store and you want to have a liquor license, you apply to the government for your liquor license. You prove that this is the address you're going to be selling at and all of those kind of particulars. They review those things and then publish your license in a public gazette. And the community then has 30 days, sometimes more, to respond to that gazette to say, yes, we want said liquor store to open, and no, we don't.
Yeah.
So what's been happening is that the digital age has allowed for that gazette to be published online, which is considered publicizing it, right? So if you don't look every day on the government websites to see if your community has a licensed gazette coming out, you're not going to see it, right? Even though your ward councillor should be going to you and saying, hey, knock, knock, Uncle Stan across the road, they want to open a tavern. Do you agree? Yes or no? That's not happening. And so once that gazetting process happens, all of the public comments received are consolidated, and based on those, it is then decided whether or not this establishment will open. Because that public commentary process is not properly opened up to the community, the silence is considered acceptance.
Okay.
Right? So if we look at some liquor stores, for example, in Mitchell's Plain in Lendigia, I met with a community leader who was concerned about a liquor establishment opening up and the community not being consulted. The liquor establishment is less than 500 meters. When I say less than 500 meters, I mean just around 80 meters away from a creche. You stand, you look at it there's the creche. Yeah? Across the way is a church that runs a rehab center. But the establishment was licensed. When they appealed the license, the memorandums that came back said, we approached this person, silence. We approached that person, silence. We approached that person, silence. They tried, I don't know how many times they tried, I assume a few times, and didn't get any responses back. And those responses, the silence was then considered acceptance. The establishment is going to open in a few months. So ward councillors in that way need to be held responsible as well, because they need to be literally knocking on doors, phoning, emailing, doing whatever they can to get as many responses. I mean, it takes how long to gather people in a church, in a community hall, and say, guys, raise your hand, who wants this?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the challenge that we're having now, and you say so many are popping up in your community as well, but the challenge that we are having in South Africa, especially with drinking, is that only about a third of South Africans actually drink. 2/3 of South Africans don't drink, but they are silenced. Right? The industry is popping out with liquor stores the way they are. It's because they need to expand their market. They need to find a way to access the 2/3 who don't drink. And by doing that, they need to increase access. And so we need to find a way to allow people to capacitate our local governments, our municipalities, in order to make sure that people have a say in what is being done in their communities around alcohol and taverns. That's why I said earlier on, we want to get to a place where communities run taverns and not where taverns run communities.
I think many will say, okay, but this is a business opportunity, so more of these liquor houses in the communities or taverns in the communities will create more jobs. I think yes, but also like you say, it shouldn't run us. We should run it. And I think we are abusing alcohol. And I think the fact remains that if you abuse alcohol, that is the issue here. We're not speaking about not having a tavern or having a beer or something. We are speaking about being accountable. And accountable doesn't mean you are responsible, because responsible is, like you say, it can be any amount of alcohol, But I think also we need to look at the health risk. The other thing that I want to just talk about is fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. It's something that's growing. I mean, we have a lot of moms that's on alcohol as well, where during their pregnancy they are on alcohol, and that actually causes complications later on with the children. So now we have children that can't concentrate, whatever, because of them abusing alcohol.
Yeah, fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is especially high in the Western Cape.
Yeah,
especially high in the farm areas. Because of obviously the province's history around the dope system, around slavery and alcohol, etc. So we have here in the Western Cape some of the highest fetal alcohol spectrum disorder rates in the world. So one of those disorders, the one that we commonly know as fetal alcohol syndrome, characterized by the facial features, is just a part and parcel of what the spectrum of disorders can encompass in it as well. And as I said before, psychosocial support is a huge one. How are we supporting expectant mothers? How are we supporting women of reproductive age who need to be aware of these kinds of consequences? Because with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, there is no known amount to cause fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So it's not to say that if you drink after you found out you're pregnant, that's going to happen. Or just as you found out you're pregnant, or you didn't know you were pregnant and you drank. We don't know at which stage, we don't know how much could actually cause fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So that's one of the things that people need to understand as well. The general rule is that once you find out, to stop consumption. And again, if there is support required, find support. I always say to families working as a doula, especially moms who are struggling, Dad mustn't say he's drinking for 3. And I've heard that.
Yes.
I've heard that where people say, she's not drinking, I'm going to drink for 3. Now she's sitting there.
And he's drinking.
She must be, she's now designated driver just because she's, you know what I mean? So how are we supporting moms in our families, in our homes, who need that kind of, because it's just being able to stand together and say, okay, we're both going to drink cool drink today. You know what I mean? And of course there is challenge, as I said, of alcohol dependence, not being able to stop no matter how hard you try. Support for those mothers is a huge one, as well. I think fetal alcohol spectrum disorder is often overlooked, especially now that it's been categorized by the disorders. People often think that because their children don't have the facial, distinct facial features, that there's no real challenge. But it's diagnosable, and it's preventable is the biggest thing. And it is a very, very, very difficult situation that our communities find themselves in. I mean, in the Northern Cape, it's at least 1 in 5 children living with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder there. So the civil society organizations, they're having to support families as well through that. And part of that support is also education. Educating the mums about alcohol, its impact on children, so that they can know, for future pregnancies, how they can best mitigate those consequences.
The one thing that the Western world are actually teaching our youngsters, if you look at, alcohol, if you drink expensive alcohol, you have made it. I mean, okay, I was actually adult when I bought into this, but if you drink Hennessy, then you have made it. If you buy Hennessy, the more expensive the alcohol is, the more successful you are. What is your thoughts, Rana, about it? I think we need to tell our young people it's not how much you drink it makes you successful. But I think that, like you said, with advertising, You see this guy walking around with a bottle of Hennessy, throwing it down on his friend's grave or drinking it. It's like creating this image that, you know what, in order for me to be a big boss or to live the boss life is to drink expensive.
Yeah. It is an industry tactic because they need to find a way, I guess I said again, to tap into that market that's not, right? So if we look at how alcohol advertising changed from the dawn of democracy before apartheid, right? And then when democracy came, how alcohol ads shifted. So before democracy came, alcohol ads on TV and stuff were not really targeted towards people of color. And then that shifted, and alcohol advertising started to become more about, it's about Ubuntu. We're all together in this. Look at freedom. This is what freedom is, right? We all look at it as white, made Asia, all of that kind of we belong together kind of ads. Now it's needing to shift because you don't need to sell democracy anymore. Now we need to sell empowerment.
Yes.
Why? Because middle class, young black people, young colored people are starting to go to university. They're starting to get better jobs. They're starting to move out of lower income areas into more upper class areas, out of their own income. And so how do we get those people to consume our product? We associate it with success.
Yes. And I think you in the papers was recently where you spoke about how black people, youngsters are being targeted. That in order for them to be successful, they have to be alcoholics. Not alcoholics, but they have to buy alcohol. Just tell them more about it.
Yeah, so it was an op-ed that I wrote because I realized that there was a pattern in alcohol advertising targeting young black people. Basically that the alcohol industry sees young black people as a market.
Yes.
Black people in this case referring to non-white. So if we look at consumption, white people drink the most in terms of regular consumers, right? So they are not a market that the industry necessarily wants to tap into because they're already there, right? There was no alcohol restriction on that community, but there was on people of color. So they needed to find how they can tap into a market of growing of a growing economy. More black people are going to have work. More black people are going to have disposable income to be able to spend on alcohol. So they needed to associate alcohol with things that young people of color could find aspirational. So using people in their advertising who look a certain way, look successful, look glamorous, very healthy, flowing hair, good suits, on a boat, all dressed in all white, all of these kind of glamorous images associated with it because they needed young black people to see that, when I get a paycheck, I'm dressed in all white, I need to stand with this bottle. There was a craze back a few years ago, and it might still be going on now, at nightclubs where people would rent bottles, not to drink them, but just to have it on the table.
To take pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to have it on the table. Because the industry has made it so that their brand, like the same way we would associate with a tacky brand or a jeans brand, something that is associated with looking good, feeling good, being successful, being wealthy.
Yes,
being able to afford a certain kind of lifestyle. Now you can show that wearing shoes from a discount store, but as long as you have that alcohol brand on your table. That is something that industry constructed to make their product desirable. They need to make their product desirable. And that's what's being done now to people of color, to young people of color, is to say, you are a market we need to get into. Your money is the money that we want. And that's where the focus is now. Young people of color.
Can it be because when we talk about young people of color, can it be also because the young people of color is also the highest alcohol abusers? Because you know why? Drug dealers will sell drugs, not to any random person. Their clients are the ones that will come back every day. And that's the people that make them rich. And I think it's almost the same with alcohol as well. When you have people that's abusing alcohol, they will go back and they'll go buy that same drink every day. You get people like a lot of people in the police force, or some people, they have a lot of trauma and they don't talk about it. And so the only way to escape their trauma, and not all police people, but some, or even any strenuous job, And for that reason, they will run to alcohol. And now these people are seeing, okay, they are buying from us. So let's infiltrate the market because I know the colored market is the market they want to be at. That is where the money is at. That's the constant buyers. That's people that can buy every week or every day.
They're going to tap into where the money is coming in from. And the problem with that is that it's exploitative.
Yes.
Right? You're exploiting vulnerable communities.
Yeah.
Right? Communities where you are seeing consumption patterns at a very high rate don't need more alcohol.
Yeah.
They need support. They need structural, systematic change in order for those people to gain access to support and proper systems that would allow for those consumption patterns to be managed. Because you are not creating a thriving economy in those communities, right? There was a very harmful op-ed that somebody from the alcohol industry penned titled "Booze Will Boost the Township Economy." And we had a major problem with that because it does the complete opposite, right? Communities, especially low-income communities, are left distraught weekend after weekend because of high alcohol consumption rates. And industry dumps tons, truckfuls of alcohol weekends into these places.
Yes.
It is not helping the economy in those places, and it's not helping those communities. And the industry is that it's exploiting them.
Yeah.
It's taking advantage of that vulnerability to say, oh, yes, he's a swak punt.
Yeah. Yes.
And I'm going to scab at that wound, and I'm going to scab at that wound, and I'm going to scab at that wound until I bleed you dry. And then I'm going to go to the next one. And I'm going to bleed it dry, and then I'm going to go to the next one. And we cannot have that exploitation continue to occur in communities because they actually are not benefiting from it. Right? If we're saying that we want our industries to be ones that are benefiting the community and strengthening communities, it cannot bleed them dry. It cannot break them, right? They cannot be fighting for breath at the end of every weekend, losing sleep, losing loved ones, losing their dignity every single weekend, and go, oh, we're just trying to grow the economy in that community. It's the complete opposite.
Yeah. And the sad thing is this, by growing the economy, I've never read or seen them putting money back into the communities. I went to go look at some of these people, to go look if they give bursaries. I went to go look and I didn't see some of the brands that our people support, that I know that people support. I haven't seen them giving bursaries back or building schools. I mean, we contribute big to these industries. They make a lot of money from the colored people because we, like I said, we are the most alcohol abusers according to the statistics, but they're not giving back to us. So this is actually also an abusive relationship from their side, where we're just putting the alcohol into the community, kill one another. We're not going to give you any help. The same is with gambling as well. Gambling is also an issue, and that's another issue. And it's our people that are actually at the end of the day struggling to cope.
Yeah.
Because that daddy that pays every fortnight, he's got issues.
Yes.
So Friday when he pays, he's going to take some of his money and sometimes most of his money to go buy alcohol. He might even drink all the alcohol up, all his money up, and there will be no food for that child. So it's a cycle. The father is alcoholic. The child won't have food for the next couple of days. They have to beg. The mother is obviously going to be abused. And that is just the reality of many of our homes. We don't speak about it often on the air, but it's the reality.
That's the reality that you said we don't speak about often. Yeah. The one we speak about is road accidents.
Yes.
There's an abundance of road accident campaigns, and it's important. Reducing harm on our roads is important. But there is social harm, like you are describing, that continues to happen on a day-to-day basis that is ignored. Because how do you quantify that? How do you quantify that? And that's what industry wants us to do, right? Every time we say, but there's harm, they say, oh, research. We need socioeconomic research. They want to quantify a life.
Yes.
How much does a life cost? Right? Those are the things that we can't put a number to, right? How do you quantify violence against women? Right? How do you tell a woman that her life, the injuries to her body, the injuries to her mind, her soul cost so much? You can't do that. And it is a very, very, very strenuous conversation to have continuously, but it's one at Rethink Your Drink that we are committed to having. until the Liquor Amendment Bill is passed. And then the real conversation starts, because then we get to implementation. How does this look for South African communities? How can we get this down to the very, very small child who is going to be able to go to bed peacefully on a Friday night after running amok in the house because they didn't want a bath? We want all South Africans, no matter where they come from, no matter what community they live in, to be able to go to bed safely and not feel anxious or stressed about the fact that they won't be able to sleep from Thursday to Sunday because the tavern 2 streets down is going to be making noise. We need families to not feel anxious about their kids going away for matric vac because of potential alcohol harm, pens down parties because of alcohol harm. All of these things can be, the harm caused by these can be reduced if we introduce proper policy change to make that happen.
Who do we keep accountable? Because you know what? We can talk about it, but the fact that we have a lot of listeners and this podcast will still grow, who do we keep accountable? Do we keep government accountable? In the Western Cape, do we keep the DA accountable, the city accountable? Because I don't know what's happening in other provinces. I don't live there, but I know here in the Western Cape, we have a big issue. If you drive on, it's some areas, like you say, on a Thursday night already, people start partying. And this can't be good for the economy, because if you are starting to drink the Thursday, it means you may probably not go to work on the Friday. You might not even go to work on the Monday. So we have an issue there. We are only working 4 times a week. So how is this boosting the economy if people are staying at home because of alcohol abuse?
That's not boosting the economy at all. No. And absolutely, government at all levels, local, municipal, national government needs to be held accountable. We have the policies. It literally is there. It exists. Anybody can look online and find it. They can look online and find it. They know about it. They've spoken about it before. They need to be held accountable for not moving the Liquor Amendment Bill forward. Right? Local government, municipal governments need to be held accountable for not properly including their communities in processes when it comes to regulating trading hours, etc. I'll give you an example. In the Northern Cape, they had made amendments to their liquor trading hours, increasing the trading hours. They did all of the process, public commentary, etc. But then there was a shock, because we were like, oh, okay, everything is going to be fine. Closing at 2 o'clock, and then we saw, it's closing some places, closing at 2 o'clock, some places closing at 4 o'clock, nightclubs open till 6 a.m., gambling establishments open 24 hours, all selling alcohol. And we looked at it and we said, but the province has fetal alcohol spectrum disorders as high as 1 in 5, 1 in 5 children living with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. This is a public health crisis here. The government in the Northern Cape are ignoring a public health crisis. We are currently taking them to court to contest that, so that they can pull back those trading hours, because it is negatively affecting the community. You spoke about only knowing about the Western Cape. We took the Kannaland municipality here in the Western Cape, in the Winelands, to court as well, because they also increased trading hours to a harmful extent, right? And we know that in Cape Town also, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, among other alcohol harms, is extraordinarily high. They also had to pull back their trading hours. We cannot be ignoring public health because industry is sitting at the policy table saying, but no. We need to be able to increase our profits. We need to be able to increase access, because the industry is going to fall apart. So much % of the wine industry is going to crumble if we do this, if we do that. Right? So that's one of the ways that the DG Marie Trust and Rethink Your Drink is holding governments accountable. We are willing to litigate as part of our advocacy campaigns. We're willing to go to court with governments to ensure that they put public health first, because that should be their main priority. The industry, big liquor, also needs to be held accountable. Right? We cannot have an industry that is allowed to sit at the policy table. Right? Research has shown that the alcohol industry cannot sit at the policy table because they actively work against positive public health outcomes, right? So we need to ensure that when we are at the policy table, that there's adequate representation of civil society, of government, and of the communities at large, and that industry is not overwhelming that presence. There was research done around the Liquor Amendment Bill that showed that in the NEDLAC sittings to discuss the Liquor Amendment Bills, the alcohol industry dominated sittings 15-1 in terms of community representation. So imagine me, nah, with 15 other people, talking against me, or only going for their argument.
Yes.
How do you? Is that fair?
No.
Not at all, right? No. So we need to start holding industry accountable and showing people what the industry is actually doing and what the industry's actual goals are, right? So that people can understand that, okay, the industry is here for profit. The corporate whitewashing where they take the yeast and make bread, where they have an alcohol harms reduction program at the school to tell children to only drink when they turn 18, is all just distracting us from the real harm that they are causing. That they need to be held properly accountable and they need to be properly regulated to ensure that our communities are the safest that they can be from alcohol.
And that brings me to a question you mentioned earlier on what is MUP. Just give us more about that, because I read about it and I think it's a system that can maybe do wonders.
That can work.
Yes.
We've done quite a bit of research about it, and that is available on our website for people to have a look at it, rethinkyourdrink.co.za. MUP, or minimum unit pricing, is where you set a floor price per unit of alcohol below which a trader cannot sell. So if you have a floor price per unit of alcohol in beer set at R4, right? And there's 5 units of alcohol in that beer. So you cannot sell the per unit of alcohol for less than R4. It eliminates cheap alcohol completely.
Okay.
Because what that does is makes it so that the traders have to increase their price in order to make some kind of profit. And then we put excise taxes on top of it, which makes liquor significantly more expensive. But as I said before, your premium alcohol is not likely to be affected. But your very, very cheap alcohol is very likely to be affected because they are high alcohol concentrated drinks sold at very, very cheap prices. I mean, there's that little rainbow colored shot. That has like, what is it, 20 odd percent alcohol in like how many mils?
25, almost 25.
Almost 25% of alcohol in about 25 mils. So something like that is actually quite cheap to buy, and it shouldn't be. So minimum unit pricing will set the price of that quite high, to make sure that it is expensive, not to price it completely out of people's pockets, but to minimize their consumption, so that instead of buying 10 of those, you can only buy 5, 8.
And I think that is what you want. You want people, like you say, people to consume less.
Yes.
Not for the fun of it, but to, like you say, you will go somewhere to a function and you will drink a lot because it's cheap, right? But that could be a problem where later on you're gonna be abusive. It can also cause an accident on the road. It can also cause, a killing in a vicinity. In a club, because how many people didn't die because of alcohol?
Right.
And so when you make it a bit more expensive, you make it a lot of expensive. It just means that they will use less of it.
And I mean, minimum unit pricing is just one of the strategies. Also sin taxes, excise taxes is one of the big ones as well. So we're looking for increases in excise taxes as well. The World Health Organization actually just released their 3x35 initiative, where they want to increase taxes 50% for 3 products: alcohol, tobacco, and sugar. Because those are the ones that affect public health the most.
That's sugar.
And yes, the sugar especially. And the reason why they want it to be excise taxes is because that money goes back to the state and can be redirected. Minimum unit pricing is actually one that we like because it is one that appeases industry, because that is that the difference there. It goes back to industry, it doesn't go back to the government. Right? So they're okay with minimum unit pricing. But excise taxes, the way the World Health Organization is calling it, increasing excise taxes up to 50%, is going to be major
Yeah.
if countries take that on.
Okay.
Because then you're getting revenue back into the government's pocket.
Yes.
Revenue that can be redistributed to education,
Yeah.
to housing,
Yeah.
to healthcare, all of
Yeah.
these kinds of issues
Yeah.
that we need to address. So the World Health Organization is pushing for that now. It's one that we support as well. We believe in pricing mechanisms as one of the cheapest ways to reduce alcohol harm in the country. It's far easier and doesn't cost anything.
Yeah. Yeah. This questions before we end of the illegal sub-beans is also a big problem.
Yeah.
Because because you know what? I'm gonna buy a few cases of beers and I'm gonna start it at my home. So it looks like it is just normal, just me making money, but I'm causing more harm. So now my sub-bean at home will be open till 6 o'clock the next morning.
Yes.
And that's also a problem because it's not regulated.
Yes.
What could be done about this?
Well, firstly, we need to ensure that communities are active.
Yeah.
Right? As I said, if you know about the shipping,
Yeah.
report the shipping.
Yeah. Yes.
Because it shouldn't be
Yeah.
operating, especially if it is operating, selling liquor to pregnant women,
Yeah.
selling liquor to children, operating outside of normal hours, operating till 6 o'clock in the morning, or operating 24 hours for that matter.
Yeah.
Those establishments need to be reported. But there is a huge challenge because currently, I don't know of a single province that is able to quantify how many illegal establishments actually exist, because they pop up and then they close, and then they pop up and then they close. It is very, very difficult.
Yes.
Industry, on the other hand, will say that we need to loosen regulation to give those people the ability to apply for licenses.
Yes.
But that's not what we want to do.
Yeah.
We don't want to make it
Yeah.
easier for the everyday folk to be able to access alcohol in the way that they already do now. So as I said before, regulating the space that is legal gives us capacity to be able to regulate that kind of space. And shebeens especially are a very precarious, sensitive topic for South Africans, because shebeens and shebeen queens were part and parcel of the fight against apartheid.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So we don't always look at them as places that can cause harm. But that has been transformed today. That title, that legacy has been tarnished now. And it is exclusively for a profitable gain, which it wasn't for back then. So when you're looking at shebeens in community, and yes, you're looking at it as, oh, this person in my community is needing to make an income or whatever. But unfortunately, doing so through what is essentially a criminal activity should not be allowed. All establishments operating need to be operating licensed. They need to be operating within their licensing conditions, respecting their trading hours, respecting the community that they trade in. If a oma comes and knocks and say, "Julle ras," so you must sit bietjie sagter, julle, she needs to sleep.
Exactly.
Môre is clinic, she's tired. Do you know what I mean? So, as I said before, regulating the legal side of it will give us capacity to regulate the illegal side of it. And yeah, that's essentially the only the way we can start is
by regulating it.
By regulating it.
Kashifa, thank you so much for being with us. That hour went quick. There's a lot of questions still. I mean, we're just starting now. But I want to leave you, just to, if there's anything else you think the people should know. So where do people follow you? How do people, because I know there's people that have issues where somebody in the family is an alcohol abuser. Where can they reach you? How can people know more about the bill and so on and so on?
So if you want to learn more about the Liquor Amendment Bill, about the work that we do, you can visit our website. That is rethinkyourdrink.co.za, all small letters. You can also follow us on social media. We are Rethink Your Drink _ZA on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Our contact details are also available on our website. So if you are looking for support and resources, you can feel free to reach out to us and we can navigate you to the right places where you can find support. And there are also support sites listed on our website as well. And there's extensive research about minimum unit pricing, like we spoke about our litigation cases and how litigation can help reduce alcohol harm, stuff about the economy. So lots of research available there, lots more on our social media as well. So following us on there is a good way to start.
Kashifa, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
And guys, we're not saying that you must not drink. We're not saying you must drink responsible. Be accountable. Because we now learn that responsible is not really, there's not really measurements. But when you walk out of wherever you are at, or at home, wherever, you mustn't become violent. You mustn't do harm to your body. And very important, you must maintain your composure. So thank you so much for listening. I will still be sharing this information. I'm going to work on your nerves this whole week with these clips because I want us to be responsible. And yes, this was part of the top system that we have to overcome. We have been brainwashed over the years to think that alcohol is, a lifestyle. Yes, we can enjoy it. I still drink a beer, I'll be honest with you, but also to a certain extent, I am accountable, not responsible. Guys, have an awesome evening. God bless and take care.